A dull game, a poor performance, a big opportunity for Liverpool Football Club missed tonight. They flop again. They drop more points. They do not close the gap on Tottenham, who play Chelsea tomorrow in the Premier League. And with Newcastle missing a round of games due to being in the Carabao Cup final, a very, very important, a very, very unique opportunity to close that gap. They still have the game in hand, Liverpool Football Club, but they let up tonight. Another poor performance. They had back-to-back wins against Newcastle and Everton, respectively, in the Premier League. But after being annihilated by Real Madrid midweek and then putting in this very poor, lackluster, meek performance tonight, Liverpool fans all around the world will be frustrated with this. Liverpool fans will be angry at this performance, and they have absolutely every single right to. After what they did against Everton and Newcastle, you expect a reaction. The stuffing has been knocked out of them again. You look at Liverpool coming forward now and you think to yourself, can they make the top four? They gave themselves an outside chance. They put themselves on the edge of that race. Yes, they jump up to 7th from 8th after that draw today, but that leaves them now off a 4th spot. They are now 6 points behind. They do have a game in hand, not over Newcastle. They're level on games with Newcastle as it stands right now, and they're 5 points behind them. But it's the performances. It's the momentum. It's not there with Liverpool right now. Another poor day in the office. Fabinho, another stinker for him. Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. I mean, if Crystal Palace could finish their dinner, it'd be a defeat tonight. You can argue, yes, Mo Salah hit the bar, but all the better chances, in my opinion, or the majority of the better chances, lie with Crystal Palace. Terrible pass backs, again from Trent Alexander-Arnold, putting the keeper under pressure. Good save. If Mateta was a decent striker, that could have been a different story altogether. A very disappointing night for this Liverpool team. And of course, mathematically, they can still make the top four. But based on performances, ability to put 4, 5, 6, 7 good performances together on the bounce, this Liverpool team is proving to be incapable, absolutely incapable of doing it. And it was a poor game tonight by their standards. It really, really was. I don't think a Liverpool player, maybe the goalkeeper for some of the saves he made, but you look at the lineup tonight, you look at the team, and I think Robertson, awful. Van Dijk, average. Matip, average. Trent was lucky tonight. 2 big mistakes from him could have cost goals. They hit the crossbar from one just before the halftime break, and of course the pass back was saved. But a terrible night from him. Keita, ineffective. Henderson, finished. Milner, too old. Jota, listen, I'm going to give Jota hit the post. I'm going to give Jota a little bit of leeway. Man's just coming back. Gakpo tonight. Listen, he didn't get the 007 treatment. He scored 2 on the bounce. The miss towards the end. He's got to score. And tonight is a game, again, another game that Mo Salah is going to want to forget. It's another game that Mo Salah is going to want to forget. This season's really fizzling out for him. And listen, I can't wait to speak to Liverpool fans tonight to see how they think and they feel about this. But as I say, a massively missed opportunity. Another flop performance, another poor display from this Liverpool side. And it needs to be delved into because, again, player for player, you're better than... Listen, how many of these Crystal Palace players get into this team? You could kind of argue that like Eze and Elise, these guys right now maybe could get in the squad. But even with like Decore and Lokonga out there, I would still pick Liverpool's midfield players. But, on paper, I would. And they didn't really lay a glove. Yes, they had more shots than Palace, 11 or 12 shots. But it was about the kind of... I don't know about you as Liverpool fans watching, but I never felt at any point tonight, barring Gakpo's chance, did I go, oh, they're going to score. Mo Salah hit the crossbar as well, maybe. Even when Jota went to head that ball at the back post, I shouted it out. I was watching it in the living room. I went, missed. I knew he weren't going to score. It's a weird feeling around Liverpool at the moment. It really, really is. Sambi shining. I thought Sambi had a good game today, to be fair. I didn't think he was too bad. I think he grew into the game as it went on. Wizard here says, preach, Terry. Listen, I only speak facts. I speak straight facts as I see them on the football terrace. And for me, Liverpool fans should feel disappointed at their club tonight. They gave you guys a chance of top 4. And I know mathematically it is still there. but realistically, it isn't. Newcastle have been on a bad run. After this game against Man United, that's it for Newcastle, just the Premier League remaining. And you could argue it's the same for Liverpool, but Newcastle will have the bit between their teeth, win, lose, or draw. Look at their fans are buzzing down in London, taking over Trafalgar Square. They're going to come back, win, lose, or draw from tomorrow afternoon against Man United and be buzzing for the remainder of this season. This Liverpool team looks like it wants the beach already. This Liverpool team looked defeated already. And why, if I was a Liverpool fan, the reason I'd be disappointed is after the Everton and the Newcastle game, there was hope. And in the space of a week, it feels like that has been dashed. And there should have been a response today. You should have been like a wounded animal today. It was the other way around. It was like a defeated, you sometimes see those couples, they're in their late 50s, they hate each other, they're out shopping on a Saturday afternoon for the groceries, and you kind of look at them and just think, please, if I ever get into that circumstance, shoot me. They both look miserable. They don't want to be there. But at the same time, they have no confidence in themselves to leave and be with anybody else. And it's just an absolute cocktail of shit. That's what Liverpool were tonight. An absolute abomination of a football team. This Palace team ain't great. This Palace team is poor, if I'm being honest with you. They barely won a game since the World Cup. I mean, you could argue nor of Liverpool. But Liverpool standards, terrible tonight. So yourself, no, Michael King, I'm not talking about me. I don't do that. I'll be honest with you. I'll give you an insight into my personal life here. If I'm in a relationship with somebody and I don't want to be in it anymore, whether they're my wife, whether they're a girlfriend, I end it pretty much instantly. I never wait around. I never stay in a situation where I'm unhappy for too long. It's done. It's cut off. Finished. I don't live like that. It's a weird concept for me. So, certain things in the world I find weird, and that's one of them. Why people stay in unhappy situations. I don't believe there's any reason to stay, personally. Average performance at best. Hendo blocking Trent's goal was peak. We move. You'll never walk alone. Konate and Diaz need to be rushed back or no top four. Do you know what? I thought there was justice in Trent's free kick not going in because it wasn't a bloody foul. I mean, he rolled the guy's ankle a bit, but it was a great tackle from Nathaniel Klein. I couldn't believe it was given as a foul. But, yeah, a little bit of justice there, I thought. But, yeah, Konate and Diaz, rushing them back could be a problem, but I understand why you want that to happen. VK here says, lucky to draw 0-0. That tells you everything. They are fortunate. Mateta is a load of dogs doo-doo. Yeah. I mean, he is bad. I can't understand why Edouard doesn't start over him. I personally think he's better. Obviously, Paddy Vieira disagrees with me, but in my humble opinion, Terry, who is having the worst season, us or Liverpool? Liverpool. I would say Liverpool, and I say that because look, you've spent a lot more than Liverpool. That's the kind of the big thing in your corner. But you changed owners, changed board, changed manager. Probably bought too many players, if we're being honest, to get them to all merge together. There is a Liverpool, they nearly won a quad. The drop-off is massive. So I would say Liverpool. Liverpool had bigger expectations going into this season. So I'd say Liverpool personally. Plus, I'm biased as a Man United fan, but yeah. Wizard here says Crystal Palace is a team where you can gauge where you're at as a club for the season. Klopp and Liverpool are going to get hammered by the media. So I don't think they will. I think this is kind of half the problem. Communist Merseyside and a lot of the press still kind of leave Liverpool alone. Legitimately, I've seen Arsenal criticised more this season than Liverpool in terms of trending criticism. I've seen them on TalkSport slam them and say, this is bad. But no one cares. Everyone ignores it because the powerful Liverpool fans online suppress the talk. They suppress the talk. It's kind of weird. Like, honestly, I've seen more trending criticisms of Arsenal this season than I have done Liverpool. It's kind of weird to me. I don't quite get it. Ali says, no, they haven't. No, like I've said, I've seen people criticize it, but I haven't seen it trending. I've heard fans call, like, listen, I'll go on TalkSport and see a fan call in and say, Klopp's got to go. 95% of the responses are no. That's wrong. He's got to stay. Why are you saying this? So yeah, for me, I don't know. I'll look a bit harder if you think I'm not telling the truth, and I'll have a little butchers. I am glad they didn't buy any Liverpool attackers for my fantasy football team. Yeah, you wouldn't want any today based on that performance. The amount of lost balls and missed passes by Liverpool is baffling. I- It's staggering. It's confidence. It's mentality. It's confidence. That's what this comes down to. And that Real Madrid game has kicked seven different types of out of them. Yeah, and listen, the next who do Liverpool play next? They must have a midweek game. I'm sure they do. Yeah, they play Wolverhampton Wanderers midweek, and then I swear it's Manchester United. It's Wolves and Man United, 2 home games. They've got to beat Wolves. If they lose to Man United, I know there's a lot of games remaining after that still, a hell of a lot of games, but Liverpool's season will be over because I don't think psychologically they'll recover from that. I really don't, especially if in these next couple of games the Tottenhams and the Newcastles win as well, because the mathematical gap will be big, but the stuffing will be knocked out of them. But yeah, listen, by the way, Liverpool will be really good against Man United. They always do it. They always turn up against Man United at Anfield. Even when we were winning trebles and Champions Leagues and Liverpool, there were seasons where United were killing the league and these guys were struggling to get in the top 5, top 6 teams, and they still outplayed us at Anfield. So I'm not confident about that game, but that could be an acid test if United went there. And by the way, in my lifetime, legit, I only really remember 1 or 2 performances where we were at Anfield and we were better. And the last one we had was 24, maybe 2015, maybe 2014, Juanfield. Must be 2014. Jesus Christ, long time ago. You're talking nearly a decade since we've gone to Anfield and been the better team. We've won some games there, but not been the better team. That would destroy this team's mentality and confidence is so fragile. It's fragile. God, I hope we destroy it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. 2016 it was. Sorry, my apologies. 2016. So slightly less than a decade, but the better part of a decade. Man like Terry, I want your thoughts on United Liverpool next week. I just gave it no excuses for you not to win. Well, I think listen, excuses is an interesting word. I don't think there is no excuses because this is the biggest game in English football. It's the biggest derby in British football. It's, in my opinion, the biggest game in club football globally. Man United versus Liverpool. And as I just stated, Liverpool's form in this game, you're an Arsenal fan. When Spurs have been bad, barring the last little period at White Hart Lane, you in my childhood, when you guys were winning league titles and you were a top team, you beat them home and away pretty much every single season. Man United, Liverpool has never been like that. In fact, even if you look at Liverpool's record at Old Trafford in our terrible era when Klopp was, and Liverpool were doing well, we've still beaten them a number of times. They've had some good results against us, but we've still beaten them a number of times. Last year being, I think twice they've beaten us. It took Klopp, I think, 4 years to score a goal against us at Old Trafford. This game does something. So for me to say no excuses would be wrong. I will certainly not be writing Liverpool off in that game because that would be a stupid thing for any Man United fan to do that's watched the game long enough. I expect kids to write them off because they don't know the history of this fixture. Liverpool are dross, but yet only 6 points off the top 4 with a game in hand. Explain that. Well, Newcastle were good, but they're not elite yet. And Spurs haven't had a good season either. Man United, slow start. So, how far are they behind Man United? I don't even know. United are on 49. Oh, actually, it's 13. There's 13 points, to be fair. And we've got a game in. No, they've still got a game in hand over us, but with 13 points ahead of them, that's fairly significant. And we had a bad start, remember, to the league campaign. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like, sort of, I still think they can catch Newcastle. Just see what Newcastle do. But yeah, Tottenham have not had remember, Tottenham have lost 8 games as well this year. Legit. Tottenham have lost 8 games. Liverpool have only lost 7. So it's kind of like fourth down. I've had really poor seasons, barring the Fulhams and the Brightons and the Brentfords, who have been very, very good pound for pound. Right, I'm going to bring my panel out, people, to have their say on the show now. Make sure you're smashing some like buttons for us, though, people. Get that done right now. Make sure you've hit the subscribe button. You've got the bell notifications turned on as well because you've got to beat the algorithm. The algorithm does not favor independently owned YouTube channels. You have to have the bell notifications turned on, so make sure you've got that done. What does it say here? Terry, do eras end? Yeah, of course they do. Otherwise, Liverpool wouldn't have stopped winning in the 90s, in the noughties, and in the early teenies, would they? Liverpool's Fergie era ended. I'm hoping now there's a a Ten Hag era. But equally, what is an era? For me, an era is a decade. You've got to win a decade for it to be your era. Does that make sense? So if you have a team that wins the league this year, say Man United come third this year and win the league next year, and then drop off for 4 or 5 years and don't compete, that ain't an era. That's like a purple patch, a good spell. An era is where you're one of the most dominant teams in your country. For me, the better part of a decade. That's what I'd call an era, off the top of my head. But yeah, they definitely end, bro. Definitely. Listen, panel time now, people. Let's do it. Welcome back, one and all. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to put breaking news up. I clicked on the wrong on the wrong thing there. Husam, a week ago, you were about to book flights to Istanbul. The confidence was high. What's gone wrong this last week, brother?
I was going to book flights to Istanbul if we beat Real Madrid. And remember to add that important caveat, Terry, please.
But you were like very excited. You won those 2 games. There was hope for Liverpool, but the drop off again this week to get battered by Madrid and then to put that performance in as a response. Give me your thoughts on that, mate.
I mean, look, in terms of the performance was just absolutely dreadful. This is one of our worst performances this whole year. I know the result is a draw. Obviously, like we've had worse performances, like the likes of Napoli and other games. Of course, they were worse. But this is one of a bunch of bad performances this season. Crystal Palace were awful today. Crystal Palace, if they were a bit more serious, could have easily won today's game. If they actually tried. If they actually had a bit of quality, they would have won today's game. From our perspective, the lineups, the substitutions, the players, it's kind of the same shit over and over, to be honest with you. Jordan Henderson literally stopped an actual goal from going into the back of the net. Rivals always love to throw at our face that we scapegoat this guy. We don't scapegoat him. He's just rubbish. He's just tragic. Jordan Henderson needs to retire soon. Forget all the documentaries about Hendo should never be done and shit. He should retire or just move on. Go play for Sunderland. Finish your career at the club where this shit all started. Because right now it just ain't it. Milner, same thing. Fabinho when he came on, same thing. Naby Keita, dreadful. Maybe Elliott was probably the only midfielder that played well today. I know he comes under a lot of criticism, but today Elliott was at least a little bit, he was okay. He created chances, did something. I feel really bad for the forwards. Salah, Gakpo, and Jota. I thought Jota was probably bad out of them 3, but the other 2, I just feel bad for them. No service. They need to create for each other, create for themselves. Just sat there like stranded on an island. Every time the ball's just hoofed in behind and they're expected to go run after it and get it and do some shit. Like it's just very weird, man. Today I thought Salah had a few moments, pass to Gakpo, hit the bar. Gakpo had a few moments, but other than that, we really created nothing. The 2 centre backs were good today. Both Matip to a lesser extent, but I thought Van Dijk had a good game today. And let me just say this, because obviously Terry's gonna focus on the guy on the right, but there's one guy that my fan base overrate to the point of no return, never criticize, and that's the left back, Mr. Andy Robertson. You will never hear a man come off mute and criticize Andy Robertson ever. It's always about Trent. Andy Robertson's been absolutely dreadful this whole season. He's been absolutely dreadful this whole season. He has moments where he, like the Villa game, for example, other games where he plays well. But other than that, Andy Robertson, consistently shit this year. Or 1 week good, 1 week shit. 1 week good, 1 week shit. Just so inconsistent, and the substitution to bring Milner on for Trent, I don't understand. Milner is worse than Trent defensively and offers you nothing going forward. It's not like Milner is some sort of rock at the back. The man's 37, 38. He shouldn't be a right back to begin with. He should not be coming on to play right back to begin with. The game where he played well as a right back, we were playing in a low block. Let's be real. Against City, we parked the bus. So obviously Milner's going to look good because there's no space to run in behind for City. So all they have to do is just run at Milner. So it's a totally different setting, So for me, the performance today was absolutely dreadful. Every game, it looks like we just want to just raise the middle finger to Alisson Becker and go like, here's a shit back pass so you can deal with it. Like every single game, there's just a shit back pass. There's a crazy moment. I just want to hug Alisson Becker and like sing a Bob Marley song to him. Like every little thing's going to be all right. Like I apologize to him because we've just let him down massively. I feel bad for the forwards today. And listen, other than that, it was a dreadful game overall. It felt like watching Soccer Aid. I was just waiting for Chunks to lace up his boots and come on, and he would have been better than some of the midfielders we had out there today. Anyway, so it's just today was just such a shit game overall from both sides. Palace, if they had like 5% more quality, would have won the game. Let's just keep it real. And I heard what you're saying about top four. Listen, it remains as is unless Spurs beat Chelsea tomorrow. It's just same shit. And to me, if I'm being honest, we have already failed this season. So getting top four means absolutely nothing to me, except playing in the Champions League. But if we don't have a squad good enough to win it, then, playing in the Champions League is not some sort of achievement or blah, blah, blah. Because I don't even think we need Champions League to attract players. We don't. Like, let's not sit up here now. I want Terry. You're a United fan. You saw your club get Pogba, Lukaku, Sanchez whilst in Europa League.
No, so I understand that point. This is where I slightly disagree with it. Is if you and Man City are fighting for Jude Bellingham next season and you're in the Europa League or the Conference League, he's picking Man City. If you go for Jude Bellingham and you're up against a La Liga team or whatever else, or a Serie A team that are offering him money, of course you can land him. I think it depends who's fighting for your targets. You took Darwin Núñez off of us for exactly that same reason. He was all up for United, then Liverpool came in, and in the summer you were in a much better position than we were. So I get your point. You can do it. The other reason you want to be in the Champions League is your club don't issue big spending anyway. If you've got £60 million less coming in, you're not going to invest. You're clearly not going to spend as much. Or do you think the owners might say, well, actually, because we're not in the Champions League, let's invest an additional amount to get us back in there? Like that would be my fear as a Liverpool fan.
Me and Curtis have spoken about this before. Short-term future, I'm not worried. This summer, I'm not worried about this summer. It's the long term. Because will they do it again the summer after? No. Or the summer after? No. It'll just be the same cycle of the same shit over and over again. That's the problem. In terms of this current summer, Klopp came out publicly said in the embargoed press conferences, like he's fully like called them out this time. Like he's just done something that he's never done before. And he's spoken about these things. And look, from my perspective, I think this summer we will spend and we must spend, but it's not about this summer. The reason why we're FSG out and the reason why we want them to go is sustainability, competitiveness, ambition, And funnily enough, the two biggest problems we have is one, sentimentality, and two, lack of ambition. And with sentimentality, it's not just shown, by Klopp, it's shown by some of us fans as well. Because if I say Firmino needs to go, or Henderson needs to go, or Keita needs to go, or blah, blah, blah needs to go, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's done this, he's done that. Like, we need to learn when to let go of players. We can't keep hugging players forever and telling them it's all going to be okay and it's all sunshine and roses and let's all be happy and get one big Klopp hug. Sometimes you've got to be ruthless and you need to have a ruthless edge to you. And if I'm being completely honest, we need about 6-7 new players. Now, I'm not saying all of them need to be Bellingham level. We could get, the 30 million signing, the 20 million signing, whatever. But as long as they're the right signings, the right profile, we'd be good to go, man. But now, look, it's just a fight for top four because we ain't gonna go to the Bernabeu and do shit, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I mean, you're not going to the Bernabeu and winning 4-0. There's no doubt. Kurdish, on today's game, just about today's game for a moment. Where did it go wrong for you? Is it like Husam said? Is it certain individuals? Is it a lack of fight? Like, is it certain players in certain positions? What was the main issue for you today with this team? The fact there was no cohesion.
I tweeted before the game, Terry. I said, no, Darwin Núñez is going to be a very long day. We need to understand Darwin Núñez may not be the most clinical player, but he's the only player in that front line that has blistering pace at the moment, with Luis Diaz being out. By having blistering pace, you always got the other team worrying about somebody running behind. Even if he's not doing it, they're still worried. So the other team naturally push back a little bit more. And then that means you can go on the front press. Now, what happened in that game, the minute Darwin Núñez went out, I knew everything was ball to feet and everything was going to be slow. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the players to play ball to feet. They are not technical enough. That is just factual. You look at the games where Darwin Núñez didn't play previously, we couldn't score a goal. The game against Wolves in the FA Cup, Harvey Elliott scored a wonder goal. But before that, it was Brighton when we were 3-0 down. So when Darwin Núñez isn't in this team, we have no outlet, Terry. And the problem is because our midfield isn't good enough, we don't play through midfield. So we've not played through midfield all season. So when Darwin's there, at least we have the long ball to go through, and he's got the pace and the movement to actually occupy spaces and run into them spaces, which then allows other players to come in. But when Darwin Núñez isn't playing, you lose that as well. So then you can't go through the midfield, and then you've got nothing up front as well. Everything was ball to feet again, and it was. I've watched Sunday league games more exciting than that, Terry. My younger cousin plays under 8 Sunday league, and I've seen better football and more excitement in watching him at times than I did today. And Terry, I want to make one thing very clear. I want to make this very clear. I don't get on Jordan Henderson too much because I know what Jordan Henderson is. He's always been legs. He's never been a very good football player. But I want to make something very clear. If Jordan Henderson had an ounce of dignity and pride today, he would have gave the captain's armband to Van Dijk on the pitch. Because when your right back that you've been nurturing and mentoring tells you to F off again for the second time in a season in front of public cameras in a game, that tells you that team doesn't respect you. If your own right back is telling you to F off as a captain and doesn't have that level of respect for you, then you need to give up that captaincy because your own team don't even respect you. And this is the problem. Jordan Henderson, every time, does a little pass or does a hoofball, and then is shocked it doesn't work. You've never had the ability to do these things. Why do you think all of a sudden you've got the ability to do this now? All you've ever been good at, Jordan Henderson, is running. You've had good legs. Now you've lost the legs. Have some decency and say, do you know what? I'm not good. Gary Neville did it. When Gary Neville knew he was gone, he went to Ferguson and said, do you know what? Look, Fergie, I love this club too much. So therefore, this isn't for me anymore. Jordan Henderson has an ego of Lionel Messi, yet the ability of Lee Cattermole. Make it make sense to me, Terry.
Listen, I understand that frustration, and you can look at the player and say maybe he needs to be self-aware. But then what has he got around him? He's got the greatest manager Liverpool have had since the original Kenny Dalglish, or maybe the greatest have had since Paisley, who loves him, who plays him no matter what, who picks him, who is still wanting to invest in a player like James Milner again next year. So I totally get where you're. Well, I think he does. I mean, he praises these guys. He's got control. If Jurgen Klopp wanted rid of these players, he could get rid of them tomorrow, and he invests in them. And I think that there needs to be an element of the manager needs to make a decision on these players. But then I do get where you're coming from. This element
Terry,
of taking responsibility for yourself. I do get that.
No, but just on that as well, I want to say this. When we look at Jordan Henderson, Jurgen Klopp dropped him for 4 games in a row. Jurgen Klopp has dropped him this season for the biggest games against Man City and Tottenham when needed. So Jurgen Klopp does not have faith in Jordan Henderson anymore. However, when I look at that bench, if he's not playing Jordan Henderson, his other options are Fabinho, who came on and got yellow, and you saw his performance. We've seen him all season. It's either Curtis Jones, it's then either or Stefan Bajetic, who needs a rest because he's played so many games. So it's not like Jurgen Klopp wants to play Jordan Henderson because we've seen him drop him multiple times. He dropped him for 4 games in a row. But it's the fact that that's your options. It's Curtis Jones, Terry. It's like swapping I don't even know. I don't even have an analogy for it. It's that bad. It's honestly, it's like going from expired chicken to expired pork. They're both going to kill you. They're both going to kill you. You're going to be in hospital by the end of it, my guy.
I understand where you're coming from on that. In terms of other players on the pitch today, Andy Robertson's been mentioned. I thought he had a stinker. But again, it was another terror. I mean, if it hadn't been for Alisson, Trent would have cost you another game today. Is Trent going to recover from this? Listen, Trent's crossing of the ball and his free kicks, I think, will always be world class. But is Trent going to get back to being world class Trent? Because it's been about 18 months or so where this guy, in nearly every game he plays, will make 1, 2, 3 mistakes that nearly cost you. I know Liverpool fans want to defend him, but I don't understand why Liverpool supporters are putting Trent above your club. I don't understand that logic. Like, Trent just looks, maybe there's no other options, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's by someone giving some competition, because he just looks like in every game, he's a moment away from costing you 3 points. And I'm not trying to be over the top here. Tonight he did it again. What are you saying about him, Ram? Because Trent just looks a shadow of himself. Shadow.
Terry, you already answered your own question, mate. He's got no competition. His only competition has got a 7-month injury now, which is Calvin Ramsey. Apparently, he broke his leg and done something to his knee again. So he has literally no one. What's his competition? James Milner. James Milner's done, man. He's done. He should be a coach. He should be a coach. I'm all for keeping Milner as a coach, not a player. I'm sorry. And then you look at what Trent had when he has no competition. He doesn't feel as affected. Having someone like, I don't know, maybe Livramento or Matty Cash in there just to give him a little bit of competition, you'll see a much better Trent Alexander-Arnold. When Trent first started out, where he's putting in defensive masterclasses, he had Nathaniel Klein who was fighting for. Any sign of fight from Trent where his position's on the line, he performs. But the problem is, it's a combination of both Jurgen Klopp and FSG. We don't invest in any of the players that are needed to keep us sustained and keep sustained success. And we rely on so many players that are just not at that level. And there's parts of me where I'm like, Jurgen, do you honestly believe in these kind of players? Because I get it when you want to back these players, you don't want to destroy them, even though their confidence is on the floor. I know you don't want to do a Mourinho or Conte where you want to call it all out and ruin your relationship within the club. But some of the stuff you've been saying is like, what am I hearing? I knew from the get-go of the starting lineup, we weren't getting anything from this game. It was going to be a tough day out. I was like, boy, I hope we could get a clean sheet because I don't see us scoring a goal. And to contrast what Husam said, I don't feel sorry for any of these players. I'm sorry. If you're Mohamed Salah, you get yourself into that game. If you're Cody Gakpo, and I've heard this so many, and I've seen this so many times. Gakpo has this thing where whenever it's like a 20-minute spell, he gets into the game and he's doing his thing. But then for the rest of the game, he just does nothing. He even isolates himself within the whole game. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't expect everyone to get you the ball. You need to fight for it. You need to do it yourself. You need to get into the game and prove what you're all about. And he does none of that. And it's really frustrating. Like, I can see so much talent in this guy, and I'm like, why are you hiding?
And we're going to move on to Gakpo. That was my next talking point. Just on the Trent thing, I want to caveat this by saying I feel sorry for Trent, because if you guys go back to streams, and Sam maybe wasn't watching back then, if you go back to streams from 3 years, 4 years, 5 years ago, you will see me consistently talk about this kid being a phenom because he was world class at 19, 20, 21. And he made some mistakes defensively because, by the way, the best defenders in the world in their pomps still made mistakes. If you actually go back and watch the full season of Maldini, you make mistakes every season. This happens. I think the lack of competition has become a problem. He's 24 years of age. He hasn't had a break. Whether it's complacency from him or some, sometimes you can be used so much you can go stale in football. And I just think there's something wrong with him. This guy is on average this season, is giving the ball away 27 times per game. Now that makes sense if you're creating lots and lots of chances. But this year, he ain't. Like this year, that's dropped off as well. So he's given the ball away. He's making costly mistakes. And this is where, again, I go to Kurdish. FFG have got to look at this. They need to go out into the market and buy someone that can compete with him, because he's only 24 years of age, but Liverpool are at risk of losing him and him fading away. And we've seen it happen before to extremely talented young players that can fade as they get a little bit older, especially if they're not kept on their toes. And I just think it's a shame. Like, I like to banter him, and I like bantering more so because I love how, you remember this time last year when he was making mistakes, Liverpool fans were saying, no, Terry, Klopp gives him the instructions to not track his men, so he's ready to counter on the break. Have you noticed that's not being done? Even your third goal against Real Madrid the other night, he was marking Milito and just let him run and didn't go with him. I look at that sort of thing and think to myself, how's that not? That's not acceptable. It's not defendable. But equally, I've got to hold my hands up and say, how can you punish someone when you've got nobody else to come in and play instead of him? It's crazy what you guys have done. It's crazy.
Terry, can I give my opinion on what's going on with Trent?
Yeah, go on. Yeah,
I think Kurdish did hit the nail on the head a bit, because Henderson, that donkey, like I've been calling for 4 years now, bro, he's on the right-hand side. So all you hear is Trent getting abused from that donkey saying, you ain't done that, you ain't done that. And after a while, you're going to get pissed off of it. Like you said, he said, fuck off to him twice, whatever, right? But if you're playing regularly with his brother in the team and he's constantly on your case and you're thinking, hold on a minute, how can you talk when you drop levels? It's going to piss you off, because I watch a lot of real live football, right? And it's so important that the team all get together and support each other, right? When you got someone like Henderson who's known for being vocal and you ain't done that you see him barking all the time at people, at some point it's going to get your nerves like, fuck off, man. Like, don't chat to me, bro. And like I just talked out, right? And I do feel Henderson needs to move on, because he's having a negative impact on some of our players. And I just think there's a point where, as a young kid, 24, right? He's still young, right? Someone constantly on your case, which Henderson is, you know, he goes on every player. Yet when he fucks up, nothing happens. Like, you saw the look on his face when he blocked that goal. I'm thinking, he's going to shoot top corner. Why are you ducking? He jumped into it, and you think, no one cussed you off, Henderson, but guarantee Henderson would have cussed that player who blocked that shot and go, what are you doing? So, in my humble opinion, obviously, everyone's got the rights on that. I do feel Henderson is having a negative effect on Trent and his performance and his psychologically, because if someone's constantly going at you, bro, come on, man, it's going to affect you after a while.
I think if you're saying Henderson is the reason why Trent is playing badly, I think that's one of the most dumbest things I've ever heard.
But that's your opinion.
If you're saying Henderson is the reason why Trent is shy, I'm sorry. No, it's on him.
Hold on, Trent. Hold on, Ram.
I don't care. No,
hold on, Ram. You understand?
I don't care.
Oh my days! This is what happens when people don't play football, bro.
Has on it. He is a world-class player. I'm sorry. I saw Trent lock down a prime Leroy Sané. I'm sorry. Trent Alexander-Arnold. The reason why I think his form is going is because of his complacency and his arrogance. There's no competition behind it.
Zane,
I know Henderson is done. Henderson is done. He should be playing maximum 5 games a season. But to tell me that Henderson is the reason why Trent is falling off, no way. I'm sorry. Trent's arrogance and the lack of competition has made him what he is. Because you know what? I saw him defend actually quite well in certain moments. So he has got something in there, but he's never switched on 100%. And that is on him. That is a Trent Alexander-Arnold issue, not him. You can go at Henderson because Henderson's been absolute dog shit this whole season and is probably done. But if you tell me that Henderson is the reason why Trent has dropped off, no way. I'm sorry, no way.
Okay, clearly you didn't answer. You didn't hear the key point, because I watch a lot of live football, lots of different teams. And one thing when I talk to the players and see what's going on, if people ain't getting on in the team, it's an issue and it affects players' performances. And clearly, as Kurdish called out, he's said F off to him twice blatantly, right? So that tells you already there's disharmony and there's an issue, beef going on there. So again, we respect you, Ram. If you watch a lot of football and you talk to a lot of football players, non-league, professionals, whatever, they will all say the same thing. You have to work together as a team on the pitch. If you start criticizing on the pitch, you ain't never going to win. And don't knock your head back, because no offense, bruv, I doubt very much you even played football at any kind of level, bruv. So I'm talking from people who play it, bruv.
Because I play sport at a decent level, yeah? I play
football,
cricket, yeah?
Not cricket. I'm talking about football, bro.
No, but it's the same thing.
It's not, bro.
So many times all the time. It's the same time. It's the same thing. I'm sorry.
Again, lack of education, man. Bro.
If you have the arrogance to not give a damn of what you're doing, I'm sorry. No, you have to have your owners. And you know what's a big thing in football? Ownership of your own capabilities and your own performances. And I'm sorry, Trent today in certain moments that was not on Henderson. That was not on anyone. That was on him. And that's why the best players become great, because they take ownership of what they've done, man.
But
I'm
Rams,
sorry, you're chatting so much.
Let Curtis
Rams,
speak.
do you know what the one thing I would say, and maybe not on that much why I blame Hender for the Trent form, but as Terry said, I think we've all here established that going forward, Trent is probably the best in the world in that position going forward in terms of what he adds and so on. But when it comes defensively, he's never been the best. However, when he's had an individual with legs to be able to occupy the spaces, we've not seen him get exposed so much. So now the problem is Trent is getting exposed so much because the right sided of midfield is not doing its job. We always knew Trent was never going to be a world class defender when it comes to actually one-on-ones and defending. But what you do is, because he's so good on the other side of things, you compensate for that. So what you do, you put someone in with legs to cover and ensure that he's got that extra protection. He now doesn't have that protection, so he's got more yards to cover when he's coming up the pitch, and when he's on one-on-one, he's already knackered, so his concentration's gone. And then on top of that, we have to remember confidence is a massive thing in Liverpool, and Trent has had his confidence battered this season from the first game. Now, obviously, like I say, some of it is his own fault, but absolutely battered. But we need to very quickly establish Trent was never the best defender when it came to defending abilities, but you compensate for that because of how good he is going forward and the value he adds when it comes to that side of things. But unfortunately, because the right-sided midfield is now got a donkey who. He used to be a horse, not a talented horse. He couldn't jump the fences. He was just doing a straight line running. You know how there's two types of horse racing. One where you do fence jumping and one where you just run straight. Henderson never had the talent to actually jump fences. He was just a horse who ran straight, but at least he had legs. Now he's a donkey. So we have to try and compensate for Trent, but we can't do that, which then leaves Trent extremely vulnerable. And I would always use Trent and sacrifice the midfield because of what he adds going forward. So it goes back to it again. There is a big problem in this team, and I say it when your right back is saying to you "F off," and when he's 6 years younger than you. Let's put the age in, because respect is a big thing here. It's about respect, And when he's doing that, there are issues. And today, like I say, I don't get on Henderson, but today,
do you know what I think is interesting about this conversation? I'm going to sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but I'm saying 6 of one and half a dozen of another. Trent is accountable for not tracking his runners. Trent is accountable for terrible passes into the team. Trent is accountable when he's caught sleeping. The amount of times you've seen goals for Liverpool conceded this year where a ball's knocked into a winger running behind him and he's asleep or he's not alert to what they're doing. That is on Trent. But since Henderson became older and you didn't replace Genie, the spacing behind your fullbacks has been exposed because your workman-like midfield has dissipated. In the last 2 to 3 years, it has slowly gone away. And of course, every year it gets worse. So I kind of feel like there's elements of truth to both these arguments. But I do agree with Ram that players have to take ownership themselves. And I do get what you're saying, Zain, that maybe he doesn't get on with Henderson. Maybe he's unhappy with certain decisions at the club and it's impacting him. But at the end of the day, if KJ doesn't get on with Jess at work, that doesn't mean KJ can underperform in my business. I'm going to hold him account still. So you still have to hold people accountable, and they get on fine, by the way, and KJ is not underperforming. So I think there's elements here that we have to look. I think you're being too nice to Trent, and you're just letting him get away with murder, and that's no good for him in the long term. Do you know, you're a parent, like I'm a parent. You let your kid get away with being naughty, you know they're going to become bad kids.
Terry, I hear that, bro. But you come up with a nugget, bruv. I think what's caused the issues with Liverpool recently, or the past couple of years, right, was that fateful decision, rather than giving Ginny a 3-year contract, and then they didn't, and they let him go, and they gave that donkey a 4-year. And I was very vocal at that time. Why the hell are we giving this donkey 4-year contract when Ginny? He had so much energy and kept us going in so many games and doing all the dirty work. And I think that's a pivotal decision that's causing some issues. Ronaldo.
Okay.
Yeah, Ronaldo. When they didn't give him a 3-year, and I think
I get this.
I see that now, can't you?
Moving on from this point, I want to pick up on something that Ram brought up a little bit earlier. Gakpo. He obviously scored that goal against Everton. Another good goal against Newcastle. But since then, again, 2 more. I'm not saying this as a United fan trying to rub salt into the wound, but another 2 performances where he's looked like a championship football player. No real pace, bad touch, poor finishing. Barring those 2 games where he scored and played well, it's been a very underwhelming start to life at Liverpool. Is this just a case of bedding in, or is Gakpo really not it? Do you guys see Gakpo being a Liverpool player? And when I say Liverpool player, I don't mean someone that's good from the bench or molded into a dirt kite kind of workhorse. I mean, do you see him as somebody that can pick up the mantle for, and be a Fernando Torres, be a Mane, be a Salah, be a Firmino? Do you see him as someone that can lead your line for 4, 5, 6 years and lead you to major trophies?
No.
No, he
Terry,
doesn't have that capability of being.
Sorry, Rams. You go
Sorry,
ahead.
he doesn't have that capability to be a Fernando Torres or Sadio Mane or Mo Salah. It's just the honest truth. I think he will be a dirt kite kind of player. Comes off the bench, maybe performs in a couple of games here and there, but no, I really. You have to show me something in your first 10 games to tell me whether you are going to be a starter. And for me, little patches in games, I'm sorry, it's not good enough. I really not. I know it's a betting period, but at least in one game, show me something that you've got. And he hasn't showed a lot. It's been very sparse, and I can't deal with sparse. I need you to perform in at least from 0 to 90, actually produce a decent, solid performance. He hasn't done that. He's only come in 20 minutes in a game, done his thing, then hides and then goes for the next 70 minutes. So,
but Rams,
not going to be the player that we're going to expect him to be.
Rams. When I want to just buy a T-shirt for daily use, and I don't mind it, getting messy, or if I want to wear it to clubbing and I don't mind it throwing it away, I'll go to Primark and I'll buy a plain one for £2.50. When I want a quality T-shirt to actually wear for special occasions and so on, I'll go into flannels and I'll buy a designer one for 40, 50 quid. When you buy in a player for 35 million in today's market, I do not expect him to come into the team and make a difference. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for in today's market. Mudryk showed me in 5 minutes against us more ability than I've seen from Cody Gakpo. And by the way, this is not Gakpo's fault, but this is what it is. You pay the market rate for a player, and that's what you get. There's a reason he was 30 to 35 million. There's a reason before we signed him, just the summer before, Leeds United were after him. Let's call a spade a spade. Just because Ten Hag liked him doesn't automatically mean he was a world-class player. He was linked with Leeds United before he came to us. This is the kind of player that we're going for. So he was always going to be a bench player. And if you actually think about it, Jota is ahead of him, Salah is ahead of him, Firmino is ahead of him, Nunes is ahead of him. So he can't get in that front line. He can't get in that front line, even if he wanted to.
I hear that, but also let's not forget the midfield at the moment is dog, right? So you can't really compare him against other players who had a much better midfield to feed him, right? So I feel at the moment, as Curtis said, he's never coming as a top player, but you can't compare him because this is probably one of the worst midfields. And I've been calling out the midfield for 2 years now, saying this shit, right? So you got to give the guy a break. Fair enough, we get a better midfield and he doesn't perform, then fair play, go at him, because there's no excuses. But at the moment, our midfield is probably one of the worst in the Premier League, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. So
I get that.
You can't do much with that because, come on, man. Look at Salah's numbers. Look at all the other strikers. Do you know what I mean? They're not getting fed. They're hungry, bro. Do you know what I mean? Because our midfield ain't doing it. So you've got to take that into consideration.
I hear that, Zayn. But the thing is, I'm not saying he has been absolute dog shit throughout. He's actually shown me something in a sustained period, a sustained 20 minutes where he's actually shown me something. And in that best example, that Newcastle game, he was playing decently, but then he ghosts in the game. And I'm like, you can't ghost in the game, man. Like, you've got to show me something. He showed me little bits, but I can't deal with little bits. I need a full performance where you're like from 0 to 90, where maybe in like a 5-minute spell, you haven't really been doing much, but 0 to 90 where you've been consistently good. He hasn't done that, man.
I would say on just that point, Liverpool consistently as a team, maybe do about 20 minutes of good work and then they ghost as a whole team. So you got to take that into consideration in terms of, as a striker, you need to be fed the ball. And if our midfield does 20 minutes of good work and then goes for the rest of the game, you can't. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason why some of these players are missing during the game because other players in our team are missing. Do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to take that into consideration.
It's a fair point. I mean, so far as a United fan, go back to the videos, we were recording them in Doha, and I said, look, I ain't sold on him, but I trust my manager. That was kind of it. That's me being really honest. I've watched him play for PSV, and I saw some good moments, and I saw some real. I watched PSV play Rangers earlier on in the season, and I thought, oh, against Rangers, if you're you're going to smash it against Rangers. And he just looked so average to me. So I wasn't sold on him. But he does need a little bit of time. As you say, you're not a well-oiled machine right now. You're not a good, he could be one of those players who's really good in a very good team, as opposed to, I don't think he's good enough to lift you out of a slump. Does that make sense? I don't think he's got that kind of ability, but he does need a little bit of time to settle. The midfield, as you say, is awful. Your wide men are not really creating chances like they were. So I feel a little bit sorry for him. It's going to be interesting to see him or Darwin when Diaz comes back. If Diaz is, listen, it's just in the modern day world, most people come back from these injuries and they're good still. Most players don't regress massively at his age. If he comes back and he's marauding down that left-hand side, that's going to bring a different dynamic back to this team. And let's see how they kind of sort of move forward from there.
Can I add a bit of positivity as well? Because Joshua Loveless, he sent a super chat in about, and you're a clown, bruv, because, that one, right? That one, right? So here's a bit of positivity for the Liverpool fans out there, right? 3 league games, 3 clean sheets. 3 games, 7 points out of 9, all right? So from my point of view, considering how crap we are, we are still in a position where there's how many games? 15 games, 14 games still to go in the season, right? We're getting our players coming back from injury. So all this doom and gloom, I'm just going to say the race is not over yet. Do you know what I mean? Newcastle ain't scoring goals.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm just saying to people out there, I know there's a lot of negativity about Liverpool.
I get your point.
Come on, man.
You're kind of running the race. You're kind of running the race with your laces tied together right now. So
but we're still in. We're not like like Arsenal were 15th or something back in the day.
I mean, Zayn, we were lucky to win to get a draw today. If Mateta was actually a clinical striker, we would be sitting with 0-0 with nothing.
Maybe shoulda, woulda, coulda.
There's context. We're not getting clean sheets because we're defending well. We're getting clean sheets because the other team can't score a goal against us.
Or Alisson saving.
Oh yeah, of course, Alisson.
I think you've got performances over a long period of time matter. Benji here says Trent's a right winger, not right back at this point. He can't tackle. I'm still confused why he hasn't been developed more into just take defensive duties away from him. If you could. Ginger Fury says, when does Klopp need to go?
Klopp needs to go. Klopp needs to go when he fails and continues with the same behaviors under new owners. If he continues to do that and these results are happening when he's not under restrictions, then Klopp needs to go. But until there is a root cause and a bigger problem in this club, that needs to be addressed.
Klopp needs to fix up. That's the right way of saying it, because some of the stuff that he's been doing is not acceptable. Stuff like that lineup today, not acceptable. Substitutes, not acceptable. He needs to fix up. That's the right way of saying it. I think certain people want him out. I don't want him out, but boy.
But Rams, can I ask you, who would have you played in midfield today?
You know what? I wouldn't have played Milner and Henderson. I would have actually played Fabinho over Milner.
On his recent form.
I know, but it's a lesser of two evils, man, in my opinion.
That's what we're dealing with, yeah.
I don't want it, and I know, but it's like
Milner and Henderson can't be in that midfield together. When you have them in the midfield together, it's not even their fault. They're just too old and slow.
And
it's terrible. It's terrible. Dyke here says, Terry, look at Klopp's excuses. Well, I saw one video where Klopp basically said we don't play balls in behind anymore. He doesn't understand why, which tells you they're not. It's not tactics what you're doing. It's players not delivering. So yeah, quite interesting words from Jurgen Klopp. Maradon says, Terry, you were giving Van der Beek time, and he's been in the Prem 3 years. So the difference, listen, you call me out on a lot of things, but you always take out the context. Firstly, I was very critical from Donny van der Beek from day one. And I was someone that used to fight with the Ollie outers when they said Ollie's the reason he's gone backward. And I said, I don't think, year one, I said this, I don't think he can handle the speed and the power and the physicality of the Premier League. My caveat for giving him time was United were in an absolute mess. mess. Not on the back of nearly winning a quad, an absolute mess. And I said, let's give him some time. And I know he's been injured now, but I said this before he got injured. The fact that he still wasn't even getting into matchday squads with Ten Hag as our manager was all the proof I needed that he is not he's a very good footballer, but he is not a Premier League footballer. So again, third point to that is my job is to ask questions. So it's trending over socials that Gakpo's not good enough. I have to ask the question, is Gakpo good enough or not? Don't take my questions as my opinions. If I don't ask questions, I'm not a good host. But if questions offend you, you honestly need medical attention. Questions are questions. They're not statements. Please go and get hugs. Something. You need something to help you. It's great. Someone says Terry's lying. Go back and listen. You can say I'm lying. Go back and watch the content. And I'm asking questions about Gakpo that I'm seeing posted by Liverpool fans on socials. And I'm asking these Liverpool fans. I didn't say I don't think he's good enough and he's going to be an absolute flop. What I've actually said, needs some time. The team ain't performing. Let's say what he's like when Luis Diaz gets back. But equally, I wasn't sure of him when Man United were going to try and buy him. So my opinion of him is already relatively low, but that was before Liverpool bought him. So again, get out your feelings. Stop trying to twist my words into something that they're not. You're never going to catch me out on these things because the one thing I am is completely unbiased and fair. I wouldn't have said he's going to be an amazing player for Man United and now suddenly start slagging him off. I don't do that. And I know, Mamadon, that you know I don't do that because you watch every video I do 3 times a day for 7 years. You spent the best part, you add up the time you've watching me, and you watch my whole streams and they're an hour long each. So 3 hours. Let's actually do the math on this, bro. Let's do the math on this, Mamadon. 3 hours a day, okay? 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's 21 hours in a week. So in a week, you're almost looking at a day, okay? Times that by 50, so in a week, you're doing a day. Okay, that means 52 days. 52 days a year times 7. Sorry, 52 days times 7. You've spent a whole year of your life watching my videos. 1 whole year of your life watching my videos. And then you lie about me in every video. You must love me so much. Sorry, I can't marry you. It's crazy. Legitimately, it's crazy. I want to say Terry Zaha. What about Zaha? Yeah, I don't rate Zaha. That's why he's nearly 30 at Palace. But this is why you lot have got to learn to listen to me more instead of fighting me. Because I know some of you are so desperate to catch me out or prove me wrong. I said 4 years ago, I don't think Zaha is a top-class player. He's at Palace and he's nearly 30. I'm right. He's a Premier League player, but a top-class player would be a top 6 club, would be at a Barca. Would be playing Champions League football at a good club if you are top class. You're not top class at 30 at Palace. You're very good. You're a talented player. I was right. I was absolutely right.
Yeah, Terry, can I go back on to what's going to happen for the rest of the season with Klopp?
Yeah,
right?
go on.
Right. Ultimately, he's been let down by FSG, so I understand Kyrgios's t-shirts and all that because it's scandalous what they've done, right? And obviously, what they'll do is spend a chunk of money and hope that chunk of money lasts for 3 years, which is not how Premier League football works, right? And Yusuf, you clown, shut up, go to bed yourself, bruv. But I think from my point of view, I think you know what, Klopp can only do what he can do, and I'm surprised no one's talked about Keita. You know, Keita is supposed to be an option, but he's not.
Yeah, but
he's
Keita,
dead, bro.
He's
dead.
Baby Keita should have left Liverpool 3 to 4 years ago.
In January, bro. We should have sold him because you're gonna say, right? Because again, we called it out. What options have you got in the midfield? The strongest midfield we've got is what? Thiago, Bachatek, and pick whoever you want, bro.
That's the problem.
It, bro. Do you know what I mean?
He's absolutely crazy. He's absolutely crazy. Klopp hasn't got a clue how to do a rebuild. Listen, I think he's earned the. I've got my opinions. I think he's lost a bit element of control of this squad, but he's earned the right to be given a chance to build something new. There's no doubt. Arsenal says 52 weeks, not days. No, my friend. So he spends nearly 24 hours a week watching the terrace. Okay, there's 52 weeks in a year, which means there's 52 days. That means that's 52 days of the year. over 7 years that he's been watching me, it's basically a year of his life he spent watching me. It's a long time, bro. Like, I don't know if I've slept that many hours. I sleep only 4 hours a day. This guy watches me almost as much as I sleep. Like, and then he lies about me in every show, every stream, every comment section. He puts a lie in. He'll say weird stuff that I've never said. No proof Jurgen Klopp doing a rebuild ever. Trust him. No, is what Omar has got to say
But he's
here.
earned the right to have a rebuild.
Hey,
That's what
Omar,
we're
I'm going to
saying.
speak to you afterwards on Space because me and you speak, Omar. I'm not happy with that.
Yeah. Listen, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in today. We are back tomorrow. Fan channel review in the morning. Reaction to Tottenham versus Chelsea. And of course, the big one tomorrow, the cup final. Manchester United versus Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup. One of the two teams is ending a well overdue drought tomorrow afternoon.
Come on, Newcastle.
Listen, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Hit the like and share button before you leave. Make sure you're subscribing and you turn on the bell notifications because the algorithm is not your friend. And listen, I speak to all 305 of my brilliant subscribers. If you don't have the bell notifications turned on, and then you've got to turn the setting on your phone or your computer to notify you as well. Like, it still don't come through. It's all set up so you know when we go live. Get that done now. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. And Mamadon,